Hey, how you going? Todd from Prado and 20 Adventures here. On this episode we're going to be changing over engine mounts, which is something I've never done before, so if you're seeing this video it means it went well. And either took me 5 minutes or 5 days. So these engine mounts are specific for a 1KZ TE Prado 120 series. If you've got a D4D Prado, a 1KD Prado, or a V6 Prado or anything else, then the mounts are going to be different. So I've developed a bit of a vibration in the car when I'm driving along and then pull up to a stop. Whenever I pull up to a stop, I end up with this like rumbling vibration through the car. If I drop back to neutral or go to another gear, then the rumble goes away. It's not the exhaust. I've had a look underneath. There's nothing like rubbing on anything. I've changed the transmission mount that sits underneath the back of the gearbox. And that hasn't changed anything. So the next step is to change these engine mounts and see if that makes a difference. These are not that expensive. They're about 70 bucks each. The job looks like it'll be involving but not too crazy. But we're gonna just dive in and give it a try because, you know, that's what I'm all about. So yeah, come along. I'll show you how I did it. Probably not the way you meant to do it, but how I did it anyway. So here's the Prado, ta-da, in all its dirty, rattly glory. So the engine mounts, there's only two of them. They're mounted, can't really show you too well, but you can see one there. And then on the passenger side, so I've just given everything a good dose of WD-40 at the moment, just to try and loosen anything that might be too stiff. I'm going to try and tackle this passenger side first. Just because it seems the most accessible, and I just want to do one at a time rather than trying to bite off more than I can chew. So before getting too carried away with the engine mounts and stuff you can see there, I'm just going to disconnect the actual main power lead to the starter motor, because I don't want to be touching that with my metal tools and be sparking and probably shocking myself. So first thing I'll do is disconnect that from the battery end. So essentially the game plan is to jack up the engine, have that supported with the jack, disconnect both ends of the engine mount, disconnect the engine mount from the engine and then from the chassis, and then hopefully pull the two parts out in one go. Should save me having to actually lift the engine up too much, but again we'll just kind of get stuck into it and see if it all comes apart. So it looks like the best spot to jack the engine up is going to be just in front of the sump. There's a good little spot up there where you can probably get the trolley jack with a shaft of wood going up to meet up with the engine. So after undoing all the bolts, I can finally see where this all comes apart. I've jacked up the engine, so this mount should just come out. Right, so here's the old mount versus the new one, and this part has separated in the car, which is probably why I was getting that rattling noise, because my engine and chassis weren't connected properly. So I'm going to go take this to the workbench and knock it out, get a bit of a clean up, and then get it ready to put all back in the car. So shiny new engine mount with the cap to go on top, ready to go back in the car. Bit of anti-seize this time to make it easier for after the next 400,000 Ks when I need to change these out again. Well, it's all finished now. That's the new body mount, the new engine mount in there. Yeah, things didn't really go as I'd planned. I did try to just take off the mount where it connects to the engine, but on this side the bolts are covered by the fuel pump, so yeah, there was no way I was taking that apart just to do an engine mount. But I managed to jack the engine up high enough to get the new mount on. Surprisingly, there was quite a bit of height difference between a new and an old mount. Yeah, in order to get the engine to get high enough, this is the result. So yeah, when you jack the engine up,
it raises everything connected to the engine, including the fan and the shroud, or the fan specifically, not so much the shroud. So it means as you're going up, the fan ends up contacting on the shroud and starts bending the fins, or the shroud. So I disconnected the shroud and the washer bottle because it's all one thing, and yeah, allowed the whole thing to rise as it needed to. So anyway, one side is done. Just got the driver's side one to go. This one's got, you've got the turbo sitting right there, all the piping and stuff connected for that. On this side you've got the alternator, and I've got, you can see the bottom of my catch can there. Lessons learnt for this side, I'm going to take the wheel off because that gives you a little bit better access to get in there. I'm going to keep my lifting point from the engine the same, which is at a little spot just in front of the sump, and hopefully this side should go a bit smoother.
A few moments later.
So this is where the actual engine mount goes. This one was a little bit easier because I knew what I was doing, but also harder because the turbo right above where that main bolt goes through makes getting to that nut on top quite difficult, but we got there in the end. Anyway, a lot easier to jack it up this time because one side's already lifted nice and high. So anyway, I'm just going to put the new mount in. Again, this one was also split and busted, probably with a source of my squeaking problems. So I'll throw these in. It's a bit hard to kind of show you guys what I'm doing in here because it's so tight and small. But yeah, I'll put it in and then show you the finished result. All done. So that job was, I suppose, a bit easier than I expected it to be. I thought maybe I might be here all day, but really it's taking me probably about 4 hours to get both sides done. That's with not knowing what I'm doing. So yeah, they're all in. So I'll pop the wheel back on and then maybe take it for a drive and see what difference it makes. I didn't even realise how much the actual car shook until you actually fixed something like this. But it's so smooth, it's like driving a petrol. Can you believe that? I can already tell this has fixed the problem that I had where when I was driving along and it would all be sort of, everything would be okay, and you'd pull up to a stop, and as you pulled up and then stopped, it was like this big vibration through the car, like something was rubbing or whatever. Nice Prado. No, I'm very, very happy with this. So I've got the doggies with me, and we're going for a celebratory frozen Coke because, you know, why not? And also this is just nice. I like this car now. I want to drive it all the time. It's good. You want some nuggets? Chicken nuggets? Oh yeah. I don't know why, but my local Macca's doesn't do frozen vanilla Cokes anymore. Really annoying. So it's 2020 now, brand new year. Prado 120 Adventures has come a very long way in the last 12 months, and I'm very proud of the work that's happened. Couldn't have been achieved without all you guys, for you watching my videos and liking, subscribing, that sort of stuff. I feel very, very privileged that, you know, you want to see me being an idiot and looking like I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, thanks for coming along for the ride. It's been awesome. This year, I've got a lot of trips planned. I want to get out and do some more filming of trips because I probably only had about 3 videos or something last year of actually doing trip runs. So this year, hopefully there'll be a lot more on the channel, do a lot more filming. Large frozen Coke, please.
Large frozen Coke, no worries.
I've kind of hit a bit of a limit with the Prado of how much I actually want to modify it. Honestly, from here on out, like, I'm happy with the lift. I'll probably look at getting some bigger tyres. I really want to try and run 35s if possible. I haven't seen a Prado in WA with 35s yet, so fingers crossed that'll be a first. Really want to pick up a welder. Want to learn how to MIG weld myself. Really want to build my own rear bar, maybe some sliders and some brush bars. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of all up in the air at the moment. Got my last year of uni going on. so I have to try and focus on that and make sure I don't fail anything, because I don't have to go back and do it again. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to do some more, not so much Prado related, but more camping and four-wheel drive related videos. Some how-to, some tips, some do's and don'ts. I'm going to do a list of best and worst mods I've done to the Prado. There's some that I absolutely love, like these engine mounts, freaking awesome. And some which I kind of wish I didn't do, or wish I'd thought a bit more about before I'd done it. So I'll be sharing with you in a later video, as well as doing a full Prado 120 Adventures car showcase. I really want to be able to show everyone what I've done to the car and why I've done it, because I sort of show off little bits and pieces and I get asked questions, oh, what have you got this, what's your lift, what tyres, rah, rah. So yeah, that'll be coming, so stay tuned. Rightio, got my frozen Coke. So yeah, if you're looking to do this job yourself with the engine mounts, I definitely recommend doing it. Go genuine where possible. They're not that expensive to get, and because your genuine ones have lasted so long, like mine have lasted 470,000 Ks now, I thought let's go genuine again. So I'm very happy I did. I knew they'd fit, I knew the rubbers are going to be good, etc, etc. Definitely take the wheel off. Like you can kind of reach around the wheel, but it's more being able to get your elbows and your arms actually closer to where you need to be, and removing the wheel does make that easier. You don't have to like lift the car up a heap. It was more just enough to get the wheel off the ground, give me a bit more space in the wheel arch to stick my head. Yeah, you'll definitely need sockets and spanners. There were some nuts and bolts that you can't get to with a socket or a breaker bar, so using the double spanner method to crack those tight nuts is really handy, and you definitely want to be practicing that under there, because there's not a lot of room to move in some spots. So what did I use? I had a 17mm was the big nut on the end of the actual engine mount, and there's two on the side which are 14mm. I used a 12mm for the brake line bracket that sits on top of the chassis and the wheel arch. Just took the 12mm bolt out of that to move it out of the way to give me some more room. And apart from that, 10mm to undo the radiator shroud plastic. So yeah, thanks for coming along for this episode. That was how to change your engine mounts on a KZ 120 Prado. Yeah, if you liked it, subscribe, leave a comment if you want to see me do something else. I'm happy to do some maintenance videos as well to try and help you guys out if you're looking at how to change your oil or whatever. But yeah, alright, well I'm going to have my frozen Coke, and I'll catch you next time. Prado 120 Adventures. Cheers. See ya.